Hello, everyone. Let's start a fireside discussion for the day. I would like to welcome our guest speaker, Mr. Jason Kelley, General Manager, Blockchain Services, IBM USA. The session will be moderated by Mr. Jitan Chandanani, Partner, Blockchain Leader, IBM. I would request all the delegates to please keep posting their questions in the chat box, and we will pick up a selected few towards the end of the session. Over to you, Jitan.
Great. Thank you, Aparna. Hello, everybody, and I thank you for this blockchain summit. I think the day's proceedings have been quite interesting. And yes, I think it's also a favorite topic of delving deeper into blockchain adoption and usage, considering we've been trying to live that life for the last 4 to 5 years. And of course, want to welcome Jason. Nobody better for the topic, which being appropriate, delving deeper. Jason, you've been living this for the better part of the last 5 to 6 years. So thank you for the participation. Jason, I want to kind of quickly start off with, I think I would like you to kind of just quickly introduce yourself, though I think most people actually do know you, but a quick few words about yourself. And then I would like you to kind of just start off about last year. And of course, that is going to be the big discussion, like also what happened to blockchain in 2020 with what was going on within the global pandemic, and how did companies react? How did business change? How did reactions change? So would like you to start off with that topic. So please, over to you, Jason. Thank you.
Great to join you, Jitan, and thanks for inviting me to this blockchain summit. It's always great to be with you and all the team there and what you're leading, which now is really, I think, a global effort that we see impacting business every day. So I'm Jason Kelley, everyone, and good to be with you all as well. And I lead IBM's blockchain business globally, something that we've been really committed to from the very top of our organization out to every country, some 170 countries that we're located in, as a way to work with data in order to get increased outcomes, valued outcomes for our clients and for the world. So when I start with that and I say that's the build up, so 2020 as it's behind us, and some of us say we're still sort of living in 2020 with some of the challenges that we have. What's changed? What did we see? Well, Jitan, your question somewhat loaded because it is a blockchain summit. So you say, what changed with blockchain?
Yeah,
I would set blockchain aside and I'd say, well, what changed with the markets, with expectations? And what came to the forefront was the thought of trust and the inherent need for trust and transparency. And that came to the forefront because it started with a thought of a pandemic. A pandemic says, there is something bad in the air. And so this does, am I infected? Is someone else infected? Can I trust, what I'm eating? Can I trust what I'm breathing? And then as it advanced, thank goodness to I'd say miraculous and very ingenious people who came up with a vaccine, now multiple vaccines. It was a thought of, now, can I trust that that vaccine is going to help me? Which then led to, can I trust that the vaccine is going to get to me?
True.
And then when I get it, do I know that it's first, it's not fraudulent, it has been kept at the right temperature, it's been shipped, stored, all those things that come when you think of a value chain. So with a pandemic dominating 2020, all of those things I've just mentioned say that, trust was at the forefront. And I'll keep saying that word over and over again, because what it really means is that people were concerned about data, more concerned about data, less about the technology, but the outcome. And that's what we've seen change, is that it's become very real. We, as a global provider of the capability and as a global general contractor of blockchain capability, so that means that we work with the ecosystem of players, many development, front-end developers for the UI, UX with clients, all the way back into whichever cloud, whatever flavor of cloud you want the platform to sit on. So it's hybrid cloud, all these wonderful, well, people are asking us less about the technology and are saying, what about the outcomes? So that's what I would say has changed, Jitan, is that people are spending less time asking, explain blockchain to me. Yeah. And they're saying, help me understand the outcome and how quickly I can get there. And that's what's changed in the industry, which has been a welcomed change. I feel like we finally pushed back the hype that we're all so tired of talking about.
That's beautiful. And that's actually so right? Because I think as kind of we also working with like different clients, and forget different clients, just as an individual, right? I think, Jason, you do travel a lot for work. The expectation that I'm going to go to different countries and have different health passes, different solutions, different way to prove that I've been vaccinated or I'm COVID free or whatever else be the case. I think the idea that probably in some cases there has to be an ecosystem connection, right? If I, as somebody from India, wants to go to Singapore, then wants to go to Dubai, wants to come to the United States, I can't download a book slurry of like 50 or 170 vaccine programs across to prove that, you know what, yes, I do not have COVID. And I think that's where I think what clients seems to be asking us. So, which also I think makes me think that, okay, it's not just about COVID. I'm sure there's more innovations being thought through. Like this is the start or this is the catalyst, how it's going to evolve. So just your thoughts on what do you think?
A key point here is that there is an expectation now that because you and I are I'm not there with you physically. Typically I would be right there, right?
Yes.
And so the thought of working digitally has just become natural. You want food, you want something, you get on a digital device and you order it, or you get someone else's digital device. And I'll mention this is also this thought of equity has also come up with how do we make sure that everyone can participate has come up as a key point. But let's stick on this thought of how easy it is to transact. And the ease of transaction does require an ecosystem of players. Like there's not one way to do it, and there's not going to be one provider for every country around the world. And that's not just for the platform, the players within a ecosystem. We start with we'll go with Europe, where we're now providing for one of the largest countries in Europe, a digital health pass and ID capability. There's different layers from the central government down to the local entity. In North America, you have federal government down to city, state, local authorities. And so all of these players have their own systems. And you start to say, well, it's not just the technology that has to integrate, but the players that are using the technology have to be able to play together. And so there's this thought of the ecosystem now being integrated, or instead where perhaps at different levels of capability. Now you have this capability that's digital that brings them together in a few simple areas. They have the going from physical to digital. So this thought of tokenization, not crypto, but tokenization, which is taking a physical good, a vaccine, and making that a digital entity. And then you have identity, which is there. Do we know that Jitan is Jitan, and that he has received a vaccine or a negative COVID test? And then provenance, which is, do we know that the vaccine that was created by this manufacturer actually went through this right system, isn't fraudulent, and is actually the injection going in Jitan's arm? So tokenization, identification or identity, and provenance, those three things have come to the forefront. And we think of how easy this is. And they have to deliver outcomes with equity, so that what if I don't have a smart device, Jitan? And this is,
Yes.
millions of us, billions of us take it for granted that yes, we can just pick up a device within arm's reach. Well, what about those that don't? What about our older population that do not necessarily know how to get signed up and make an appointment for a vaccination? How do we cater to that? So these things that were challenges that might have been further down the line have been accelerated to be addressed now. And so we know, for example, what the IBM team and others in the ecosystem brought together in the state of New York just a couple weeks ago. There was a printed version as well. You can go to a public library, or you can use someone else's phone. But you can have a printed version with the QR code of that same system. And there's the UI UX is made in a way that regardless of it's multilingual, and you can also ensure that, it's easy and intuitive to use. So those are the things that have been accelerated and then are exciting in the market right now, based on the challenges of this current pandemic.
Beautiful. Uh, so actually, Jason, this kind of gets me quite excited because yes, seems to be like we have kind of had leapfrog into organizations adopting the fact that yes, ecosystems can be connected. But I also got a very interesting question from a client, right? And they were like, oh, this is great. You know what? So now you can tell me whether I'm vaccinated and I can actually use the particular solution for letting my employees in. And this was a big organization in India, one of the leading, one of the top 3 organizations, which actually has about like 20 to 30,000 employees. They were like, we can use this for letting our employees in, the return to work program. But they did ask me a question. Okay, so a year down the line, everybody will be vaccinated, we'll all be good. What happens after that? So what's going to happen with your solution? How are you going to evolve this solution to improve my life as an individual, for the organization across the world, for the overall health ministry or the infrastructure that's being built across the world? So what do you perceive? And again, because you have a much more global view, how do you perceive this evolution to actually take place, or what are this we can expect in the future?
The thought of an immunization credential is just one type of credential. And I think that the thought of having credentials, there's many opportunities for credentials, and I'll hit on a couple of those, but I will reiterate what I've said before, is that because of the current challenges, there's things that have been accelerated and will become the norm. For example, when we talk about things becoming norm, we thought nothing when the first rideshare capability was launched. And then there were mini ride shares, and then there was food delivery, and then you could have whatever you want. Those things just caught on. So if we start with a immunization credential, I have a vaccine, and say, well, are vaccinations going to go away? No. Have we always had them on paper? Myself, when I lived in Southeast Asia with my family, and we traveled around the world from different countries, sometimes throughout Southeast, and we carried a folder of paper of all of our immunizations, just so that we could get through and any customs or get visas, so on and so forth. We won't have to do that. So you say, oh, well, problem solved. Well, problem solved, but what about the credentials that you need every day? Why do we carry a plastic card to say that we can drive? And on that plastic card, we have all of the data that doesn't just say I can drive. It has my age, it has my height, my weight, my home address here in the North America. Why does it have all that? Why can't we have this same type of credential in a trusted and transparent format that allows me to own my data? And that's the beauty in what's come forward here, is that this thought of compliance. Your example, I can walk into that employer and just show that I've been vaccinated. That's all they need to know. They don't need to know anything else about my health. And now I can do that. I don't have to show a vaccination, stamp that has everything on it. I just say, here is what you've asked for. So think about this thought of a credential as not just for health, but the other things. Clients globally, they're saying, well, if you can do health, maybe now you have a wallet that you can keep other credentials in. You can keep your certifications for use your same employer. Well, why not have that employer now manage all of their badges and training certifications in that wallet, so that you don't have to, go get a piece of paper again or find some other manner to prove that you have that cert. Think about what that means beyond that employer also. Think, Jitan, what this means for all of those people who have waited for certificates and diplomas in order to prove that they have a capability. So instead of focusing on that, we can now focus on skills and this thought of opening up opportunities for new workforce based on certifications that are trusted. That then opens up new opportunities. So, I've gone all the way from one vaccination to now thousands of people being able to get jobs because they have a digital credential that can be trusted, based on what came out of a very unfortunate situation. So that's what I see. I see, once you have a platform of trust and transparency, there's capabilities that you can put on that platform that build off that trust and transparency. Those things that we had to wait for someone to broker in the past. Yes, that's valid, or we no longer will we have to broker that data. It can be done in a very, very trusted manner.
That's actually quite beautiful, right? So I think if I'm just paraphrasing what you're saying, the inherent quality of blockchain, like even if you kind of try to build it for one solution or solving one problem, the inherent nature of technology is such that it can be built as a platform for adding additional use cases. These certification, exactly what you mentioned. And I guess that's definitely the beauty of blockchain, because yes, you can add multiple ecosystems for additional solutions. In this context, just as a question that's come from the audience, I'm just going to read out. Have there been similar versions of this technology before? Is this a variant or an altogether new technology? Well, I guess the purpose is not to ask what is blockchain in this for sure, but I'm guessing what the audience is asking is like, could this be done in another way? Or could this level of ecosystem connection could have been done in an alternate way? Thoughts on that?
So we always start, anytime someone asks me a question, they always ask me, so how does blockchain apply? And I say, forget about blockchain applying. What's the outcome? You start that way. It's like a sandwich looking for a picnic. You're trying to figure out where to take it. Instead, what you have to do is focus on the outcome. So in this case, the outcome are many different entities that are trying to share data in a trusted manner to quickly move something from one point to another point, ultimately, so that we as consumers benefit. Have there been ways tried in the past? Yes, we've been doing these things, but it's taken more time, more effort, more money, more cost, and there's a lack of transparency, and there's increased risk, and there's fraud. So, and what now we have that came to the forefront and forced this was the biggest logistic data puzzle of our lifetimes. Is how do we get this done so quickly? That was the outcome. How do we make this happen quickly? How do we make it happen with trust? That brought the technology forward. And so could it have been done in a different way with this speed, with this level of trust, with this level of transparency? No, we would have done it. Someone would have done it. And we as IBM, since I do work with IBM and I'm a stakeholder, shareholder, we've stepped up at every chance, whether it was putting someone on the moon and bringing them home safely, whether it was putting the entire Social Security Administration system behind the United States during or after the Depression. When challenges come forward, this is when we rise to occasion. And we've done that to say, look, let's take something that already exists. And now I'll net this on your question is, did we already have blockchain capability? Yes. Had we been using it for food and luxury goods, as well as for sustainability, and also making sure that things were sourced properly, as well as precious metals? Yes, we were already doing that. So what did we do? We took existing technology that was already proven at scale and said, here is a place where it can be used for the greater good. And that's what we've been able to do, is take existing scalable technology and the ability to work with an ecosystem to bring this together quickly and get the outcomes. Not to get blockchain, but to get outcomes based on blockchain capabilities.
Beautiful. So actually, that's actually a very good answer, Jason. And I think as the message to the companies is like, guys, try to solve a problem, and we'll worry about the technology. And let's not kind of focus on technology. As I said, it's a sandwich looking for a picnic, Now, when we actually go to organizations also, when you have the CTO, the CIO conversation, the business conversations, they're very readily in sharing the problem. But I think in some cases, because there's a little bit of a contamination of blockchain, the question that keeps coming up, oh, but hold on, you guys are proposing this. Can you tell me the risk and challenges of using blockchain? At that point of time, it does become a little bit about the technology. So I think the question that I'm kind of asking on behalf of these organizations, and we were talking to a pharma company earlier, can you help us understand, okay, what if something could go wrong, what could go wrong, or what other challenges and risks we should be aware of before being a small company or being a larger government entity, adopt blockchain? So some thoughts on that, please?
So first, the size doesn't matter. small organization, large organization. It reminds me of HTTP/IP back in the internet. When it first came out, I was like, I need to do a website. And it doesn't matter. Size doesn't matter. However, you bring up a great point. This risk and getting started is always the question. It does require this thought of, since we were saying there's many entities that can share permissioned data at this point, it requires not just the technical team to sit down, because that's just the tech side. There is a business challenge here as well, because what we've seen with adoption of is not that the technology is difficult. The technology now that is proven sometimes just 10% of the effort. The other 9%, 90% is business saying, wait a minute, our process is going to be simplified. We have to do this differently. We can actually move faster. And so, large or small organization, it requires technology, business, sometimes logistics, sometimes design within that organization to come together and talk through how this new workflow that's now going to be intelligent, because it's not just, oh, I'll do my part and throw it over the fence to you and you can look at it. It's actually, we're going to have to work together with trust and transparency. So there is that thought that if you want to kind of come up with a real challenge that takes a different muscle group, that is that coming together, and this is what we have found with our teams, is that doing this by design and having a method of being able to bring together teams quickly and understand the outcomes and not just the technology, and have those outcomes be prioritized. Because often you hear people, give me a use case. Can you tell me a use case this would work? And you're like, well, I can give you a list of 120 use cases, but which ones are most important and which ones are easier to get to, and which ones are just going to, one use case doesn't deliver everything, but if you bring a bunch of use cases together, you may get a bigger outcome. So that's what I say is it's almost this measure twice, cut once type of mentality that you take, is to say, look, let's put a hold on execution just for a minute and do this by design with a collaborative and diverse group of people across one entity, or in this case, if you're thinking, as we've done with a vaccine capability, is that it's multiple entities so that they can see it from their perspective, and then when you do execute, it happens quickly and you get the right outcome.
Understood. So clear. So I think in terms of first figure out what the problem is, discuss with the ecosystem, and then I think in that case, try to solve the challenge and technology will follow.
Ecosystem internally or externally, because sometimes it's just one enterprise that has their own internal ecosystem. So well said.
Well, let me kind of add one more flavor, right? The CTOs and the CIOs, and of course the business heads also, everybody wants to be part of the emerging technologies, right? And I don't personally want to call blockchain emerging, because blockchain is kind of mainstream at this stage. But I want to play with AI. I want to play with ML. I want to play with IoT. I want to play with virtual reality. In some cases, the conversation can I work all of them together in some element or the other? And of course, at IBM, we keep asking these questions. You know what? We want to have a digital transformation. Can you guys bring in the whole suite? And I'm sure, Jason, you get asked these questions also, like, oh, so will it work with my AI module, or will it work with my ML module, machine learning module, or will it integrate with some of my existing systems altogether? Typically, how would you answer the question? Because yes, they have spent tons of time and effort in building these old systems from a legacy systems, as well as have done some work on the new technologies. Does blockchain fit in like a Lego jigsaw puzzle, or it's a whole new dimension altogether coming?
I love that. Somehow Lego has kind of cornered the market with regards to IT integration. Everyone always has a Lego somewhere in the chart, right? What I ask in that same thought is, and Lego is even a limiting challenge, because my kids now, who are now approaching later teenage years, we still have lots of Legos, but we had different brands of Legos and they don't always fit, right? So Lego isn't the best example. What I would say is that with AI, with IoT, with automation, just to name a few, I could go as far as to say with quantum, all of them use one thing as their fuel: data. They all require data. They all pull more data at different levels, and they all need trusted, high quality data, and they need access to data. Guess what delivers what I just said? This B word that we've been talking about. And so blockchain has to be seen as an accelerant, an enabler, an activator. You know, there is nothing wrong with that $10 million USD enterprise resource planning system. If we go way back it's in there. And guess what? Those systems sometimes create multiple silos of data based on function.
Correct.
How do you tie that together with trust? Well, oh, let's grab a data lake, you know, oh, and then it sounds like, oh, now we got a big lake of data, but you still have the same access, quality, and in some cases, you know, this thought of integrity. Was it changed? Who changed it? How? So, you know, a blockchain word, immutable, you know, do you know that that data is the right data? And if it was changed, who changed it, when, and how? These are the questions that have always been asked. So just think of blockchain as taking these great investments, legacy or not, and giving them superpowers, because now you can have one common thread of trusted data across them, with them, and empowering them.
Fair enough. That's good. Just we got like 4 minutes left. So it's my last question. If I'm an organization, am I too late? Have I been left out, or there's yet time for me to kind of join the different blockchain networks?
The infamous fear of missing out, FOMO.
FOMO,
right?
exactly.
You got it. So no, I love FOMO because the other one is that is, you know, it was you only live once, YOLO,
Yes.
right? So hey, it's almost like jump in. Well, it's not that. It's definitely not that. It's not this big risk. And no, there shouldn't be a fear of missing out. It should be, now that it is proven, you know, some of the things that we've been really doing as a company globally have happened very quickly. The work that we've done with some of the states and some of the countries has happened in less than a quarter. So you're talking about they're changing the way they're doing business in 3 months.
Okay.
You know, we are now moving at a rate and pace that allows, you know, many smaller entities or multiple large entities to work together very quickly. So the time is now, because it's proven, it's scalable. It's now jump on and move quickly. You know, you don't have to sit back and the years of, oh, let's do an experiment, or let's do a try, let's you know, proof of concept, you know, or you know, a POC, or what was it? You heard me talking, people would talk about POIs, and I was like, what's a POI? A proof of incompetence, because we wasted time doing something we knew that worked. So those days are past, and it's time to move now. So I'd say the best way to get started is to get that cross-functional team together, talk about a key outcome or multiple outcomes that you can prioritize, and run hard and fast, because the technology is waiting for those entities to use it. It's on the shelf. It's saying, come on, you know, use me now. Let's get an outcome.
Beautiful. Great, Jason. Again, thank you for your time. This was a wonderful session, and I'm sure like the audience also appreciate it. Again, let's take an order out, but again, thank you for your participation again.
Thank you, Jitan. Thanks to everyone. Thanks to the Blockchain Summit. Cheers. Have a good rest of the conference. Take care.
Thank you. Back to you, partner.
Thank you so much to both of our speakers for this discussion. As our summit comes to an end, I would like to thank all our esteemed speakers, our partners, our supporters, all the startups participating in Startup Showcase, and last but not the least, all our delegates for making this event a success. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day ahead.